What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of City Skylines 2. Today, we are back in Toro Canyon, and with the city getting as big as it has gotten, there has been something that I've been wanting to build for a while. With over 250,000 population, the city is in need of some sports teams. And with sports teams comes some stadiums. So we added on a football and baseball stadium over here in the airport complex. And I believe that this looks amazing. Maybe we have to switch it up with the parking lots and get them a little more situated, but the football and baseball stadiums sitting as they sit right here, crammed into this complex with the highway rolling right through. This is a designated area just for this stuff. Players that are flying in to go ahead and compete at these stadiums can fly straight into the airport. There's not a long drive. They are right there. I believe that this is a beautiful piece that we put together. And there was a lot of work that went into it, but it was something that I didn't want to rush, so it's why I didn't do it sooner. I wanted to make sure that I knew what I had to do, and that way I didn't mess it up when it came time to build these. There was a lot of back and forth when it came to first building this, and it was figuring out where I was going to put it, whether it was going to be by the industrial area, cramming it into the middle of the city, but I thought that there wouldn't be enough room. It ended up going in this spot over here by the canal. I debated plenty of areas, but I thought that once you were in this stadium and you were sitting here, just to look over towards the city, and it's like right near the airport, it just feels like this is where it should be. This just made the most sense to me. It allowed me to really take into account of how the stadium would be built because I wanted it to be something that was unique. You'll see that only one side of the stadium gets a covering over the roof, roof covering to it. That is because I wanted to make it almost like how the Miami Dolphins do it, to where whenever they play games, the home team gets shade while the away team would go ahead and get sunlight the whole entire game. So we went ahead and covered up the side that has the home team on it, and we went ahead and left open the side that has the away team on it. It was something sort of custom that I wanted to do. I really think that the layout turned out nice. The baseball stadium, I turned to face the bay. There's going to be over across this cable bridge, there's going to be more city that's built over there, so you'll still be able to see the city from the baseball stadium. I wanted to make sure that there was views to them, but also that they sat nicely in an area that doesn't look like they were just thrown down for no reason. And I feel like this area here really fit that 100%. The way that I went through and built this, you're going to need some mods if you're going to want to do it. So if this is the first time of you watching this stuff put together, there is three basic mods that you're going to need. First of all, you're going to need Anarchy, you're going to need Plop the Growables, and you're going to need Move It. Those are going to be the ones that really benefit you the most. If you really want to do Find It, you can do Find It. The only thing with Find It is it sort of puts it down as a building that needs connections and stuff, so it's going to give you a hard time whenever you are trying to play the game with notifications on, or you're going to get something to where you can't move it correctly with the move it tool. So plop to growables is going to be especially something that you need. We're using all the stands and stuff that come off of the parks, such as the football stadium that you can quote unquote put down like you saw me in the beginning, and there's some few other things like a smaller baseball stadium and stuff that they have. This all comes off of those, and you just use the Anarchy tool to go in and merge them together, and the Move It tool to move them up and down, left and right. Pretty much get it to where you 100% need everything to be in the end. So we went through, built all of this. There might be a few things that I end up changing in the end, such as switching out the chirpers decal to some other team. I know that there's some people that were creating some teams decals that you can go ahead and put on the field. I'm going to find them and see if I can get them down and everything. But I'm going to let you guys enjoy this process that I have going on here. You're going to see that I went through some issues with the Move It tool. I ended up moving these decals off the field. I placed them later because they kept interfering with other stuff that I was trying to move. So I hope you guys enjoy. If you guys have any questions, don't forget to leave them down in the comment section down below, or give me some tips and stuff, because of course I don't know everything, and maybe you guys have something that might add some realism to the stadium, or maybe you saw something that I missed and we could possibly take care of it in the future. So hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you later in the video. So we're getting into the nitty gritty of the stadium now. And overall, it is coming together. I think in the end, this looks completely amazing. Just completely amazing. There are some things that, from right now at this standpoint, do change. You'll see that there's a lot of stands and stuff that overlap. I try to go ahead and fix that, get rid of all of it. I don't want anything to do with that. It makes my OCD go crazy. But there's some stuff that I wish that I knew going into this, such as what props work for certain things, what don't. You can't use those bridge pillars that I keep going back to. You can't put them up and then lower them into the ground. It makes the ground shoot down to wherever you lower them to. So that does not work whatsoever. I wish I knew that sort of stuff. I think it would have helped me in picking out what assets and everything I was going to use whenever building this. And I wish I knew how to line things up properly because everything's different sizes when you go to build them, and it truly doesn't work in the way that you think it's going to work. So I wish maybe there was other assets in which I could use to go ahead and build this. But in the end, it truly comes together. If you guys have anything for me that you may have seen throughout this, like I said, don't hesitate to let me know. But I hope this has been sort of easy to follow along with. It was very enjoyable to make this. And overall, I think it was one of the funnest builds that I've ever done in the game. It was nice to do something that's not vanilla in the game. And I didn't want to jump into this until I think that I was ready to go ahead and do this. I needed more time in the game, but since I got the time that I needed in the game, I feel like that's the reason why this came out to be as good as it came out to be. So hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of the video. Like I said, thank you guys for joining in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I've been Chase. I hope to see you guys in the next one. And I really, really, really hope that you guys do enjoy the stadium and the baseball stadium. And I hope it's realistic enough. And if there's anything that you think could change this to be more realistic, let me know. I appreciate all the feedback. But as always, thank you guys for the support. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace.